Hello and welcome to Overview Overwatch. So this is the channel where I get to sit down with some members of the Overwatch community and pick their brains on some questions. So today we are on episode 3. Boom, ruining my intro. But you know, we move. Today we're on episode 3 of the European Invitational content. And today I'm joined by 3 members of Team from Ireland, I believe is the official name. Very creative. Love to see it. So on video to the top left, we have Mentally Boomed. Bottom left is PureIrish. And on audio only, because he forgot his webcam, is Nut Overwatch. So I think the best way of doing this, guys, is we're just going to go around in that circle again. Just talk about who your main is, and if you think there should be any balance changes, keep it back to basic here. So, Boom, do you want to start?
Hello, I'm Mentally Boomed. My name feels so laughing. I'm Mentally Boomed. My name's Winston. And I think they should nerf Lucio into the ground. He's the only reason that Kiri is meta. And if Lucio was nerfed, Zen would rise and ball comps would be good.
Okay, interesting. Pure, who would you say your main is?
Uh, my main, I mean, I have to go with Diva, right? Even though I don't play her that much because I'm being forced onto other tank players, characters. But you know, Diva is the best. And I think Sigma deserves a buff. Honestly, I think he needs his rock cooldown reduced. That's what I think.
Interesting. I think he's like on the edge though as well. You know, I think a small buff to him would be kind of game changing. You know. Okay, what about yourself then? Who do you think your main is?
I'd have to go with Kiriko because the minute she's been released into the game, she's just been a hard stay for flex supports. I think she can do everything. She's good at damaging. She's good mobility. She's good at everything, which probably shouldn't be the case, but I don't mind that. She's fun.
Do you think? I mean, I personally think she does need a couple of nerfs, but what about from say the flex support position? Do you think she needs a nerf as well?
She needs a rework. I don't think you can nerf her.
Wow.
She does just too many things. It's just you can't tune any side of her kit without breaking something. I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what do you think a rework for her would look like?
That's a very good question. I think they just need to. They have to either make her more DPS focused, less heal focused, or go the other way, or make her more utility focused like Lucio. She just does all 3 things. It's just not good for the game.
Just kind of specialize her a little bit more. Boom, do you seem to agree with that?
Yeah, I think utility would be better. We need a Lucio replacement, really. Like, Lucio's just too busted. He's like the way I described it, they described him early on in Overwatch 2 was he's Brig with the wall ride. Like he's like Overwatch 1 Brig with like the terms of versatility and how like the situations you could play him in, but he has mobility and it's just he's too good. You need something that can like match that level of utility with that level of mobility, which if they reworked Kiri to be less heal damage hybrid and more util focused, you could kind of like justify
step away from Lucio so much. Yeah, interesting. Okay, Pure, I want to go to you on this one to start us off with a very brief rundown of kind of your journey through the competitive scene and what got you to Team from Ireland, basically.
Well, I started playing main tank back in 2019, but these were like for random teams. What first started me playing competitively and what made me continue playing competitively was the World Cup 2019. When I didn't expect to play a tank player. Like I was a main tank, so I just tried out for off tank because we had Liam and we had Trilo, 2 very good main tanks at the time. So I said, well, if I'm gonna get a spot on the team, it's gonna be off tank. So I went for off tank. I got it. I don't know how. And ever since then, after that World Cup, we spent like 6 months together. I decided that I wanted to keep playing. Some other of the Irish people want to keep playing as well, so I thought it'd be nice. And yeah, I've been playing tank ever since then, since 2019. I've had a few breaks in between, but from teams like the first team I joined, Chaos Insurgency, all the way up to now, I've been playing tanks, and yeah, I enjoy doing it.
Brilliant. And Nut, I'll go to you here then. What was your path to where we are now?
I was bouncing around a couple of teams when I was not good at all. Then I started kind of working my way up. I suppose I can start with Cersei because I spent upwards of a year on Cersei, and then following Cersei, I went to Granite. So I was on Granite for a good chunk of the summer. We participated in the Open Division during that. And then they retried Flick support, and I couldn't really play anymore because I was going into college and I didn't have a PC for college. So between the end of summer to October, I couldn't play Overwatch. And then I was lucky enough to get a PC where I was staying in college. So I decided to start playing again. And that was around the time AFO was going on, the qualifiers for AFO. So I decided to. I originally started coaching Namaste, but then I joined as a player because I was much better suited playing than I was coaching, I think. And I think they thought that as well. And then after Namaste, I joined Cillian Strong for the Open Division that went on during last May. And then following that, we stuck together for Insomnia and in August. And then I ended up here.
Brilliant. And Boom, that kind of brings us on to you then. You're coming from the coaching role here. So
I am indeed.
Generally have a different kind of path into these sort of things. So tell us about how you got into it.
So I was on a Diamond team on console, and they weren't very good. And we had a coach, but like, there's in PC, like you got some like the lower down coaches and like the lower down teams who like, you know, they're trying to work their way up, but like they're not contenders level, right? They're not doing a really expensive work. That if you take that, like chop their work in half, that's console coaches really. Like console coaches are not good. So I was a shot caller and I was very vocal in game. I was very passionate and I started coaching there and we went like undefeated. We went really far and we did it playing double bubble. Before anyone was playing double bubble, we played Monkey Zaya Doom Tracer, and we were just like the goats of Diamond console tournaments. And then I switched to PC. I was already playing on PC, but I was kind of like in between PC and console because I had a lot of friends on console still. So I was, in between. And I was already a high peak player on PC. So I started playing in like just under tier 3 level on PC. Played a couple ODs, got like top 24, top 16 as a player. And then I injured my wrist. And I'd already had coaching experience on console. And like basically the coaching experience I had on console was just give them comps and then make them shout a lot. That's all I knew how to do. And then I went to a team called Bad Bastards because of my wrist injury. I couldn't play anymore, and I lied about my experience. I lied and I said I had like way more experience than I had, and they just believed me and they let me on. So I was just kind of faked it till I made it, and then got on like a 4-2 level PC team and was like, I don't know how to coach, so I had to just wing it. And in that like 6-month period, I kind of figured out how to, come up with concepts and develop ideas and stuff. And then from that, a lot of my console friends made a team called Adderall that I went over and coached, and then we got top 24 in OD on that team, which is like a good performance because it's the first OD I ever competed in as a coach, and we got one game out of top 16, which I was like really happy with. And then I took players from Adderall and made a team called Swag Team, and we got top 24, but we lost to a team that had cheaters on it.
Oh.
So I thought we should have been top 16. We should have been top 16, but we were top 24 technically, and that had people like Booga on it, who people might know in the scene and stuff, who went on to do a lot in tier 3. And then from Swag Team, where did I go to Swag Team? I can't remember what I did. I went to Lotus, sorry, and I met this guy called Duncan. And Duncan he's Korean, but he was living in Belgium, and he had never been on an EU team before, and he was trying to look for teams. And I kind of, while I was coaching Swag Team, I messaged somebody at Lotus called Danny, who owned the team, and was like, sign this guy. This guy's a freak. Get him on your team. You'll get to 16, right? And I was kind of like overblowing him a little bit, like, like, yo, he's really good. He's fucking crazy, right? But I didn't, I was like, well, maybe they won't get top 16, but he's a good player. And then they did get top 16 like instantly, and I was
Okay.
like, oh, okay, like he's really good then. And then I ended up coaching Lotus from that because Danny kind of like understood, you know, like I knew what I was looking at with Duncan and stuff. And then I coached Duncan for a long time on Lotus, and then Duncan left and went to Granite with Nut. And I kept coaching Lotus, and I coached Captain Prash and Fake Jake and Santix and people like that, who obviously like Captain Prash weren't contenders with Share Called. And then after Lotus, I kind of just sat around for a little bit, and then started coaching a team called Altera Igni. Because I took a break and like I was trying to get trials for like big tier 3 teams, and everyone was like, "Yeah, bro," you're like, "Nah, you ain't getting nowhere." So I was like, "All right, cool. I'll go to this team that I kind of had like some connections with and knew some of the players on." And then I coached them for I think 9 months. We went to Insomnia and we played the Insomnia tournament, and we beat like a couple good teams there. There was Jaru came with a team of contenders players who we beat in groups, and then we beat SNS as well. And I can see Pure smiling. He's showing up to left. We beat SNS as well. And we got fourth in that, and then after Igni, we kind of knew that was like our last dance, and some of them wanted to keep playing. The main support ended up becoming a manager, Suf, who's the manager for 721 right now, and then we kind of took all of those guys and made 721, and then Nut came to me and was like, "Yo, I want to make a project." And I was like, "Cool." So I knew Nut was a good player because he rang for Adfriend, I coached Adfriend before Igni. I missed Adfriend.
That's your blank spot, I think.
Yeah, that's my blank spot. Yeah, I coached Adfriend as well. My bad, Adfriend players. I'm sorry. But he rang for Adfriend a couple times, and I really liked his mentality. So I built around Nut with like 721 and stuff, and then I knew he knew PureIrish, but PureIrish was retired and stuff, and like I was like, he's not gonna come back. And then I saw him duoing ranks, and I was like, hey, no, PureIrish by any chance doesn't want to try out, does he? And then Pure was like kind of like in the middle. He's like,
Yeah.
I bullied him into coming back.
yeah, and then not bullied him into coming back, and then I had to sit down with Pure, and I was like, Pure, I got big things in line for you, buddy. I'm gonna make you into a demon. You just gotta trust me. And then we've been here ever since. And then obviously through knowing Nut and Pure and stuff, and I think an Irish ancestor from my grandparents, I qualify to coach a team from Ireland. So that's yeah, we kind of just moved a lot of the stuff we were doing over here, moved it over to Team Ireland, and then started going from there.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I've been obviously somewhat involved as an Irishman myself, and I've enjoyed working with you guys and keeping track of you guys through this tournament. But thinking back to how I got involved in the scene, it was largely in part of that 2019 World Cup, Pure Irish that you were involved in. It was just fantastic to see Irish people represented like that. What was it like actually being a part of that World Cup?
I think it's probably the most proud I've ever been in my life. I'm not gonna lie. Especially the week that we were in LA, and I've always said it was the best week of my life. Like just being able to represent your country, knowing, especially when we were playing. Okay, we were playing against Iceland. We weren't really too confident about it, but we knew there was a watch party going on in a pub in Dublin back home at the time.
Yeah.
And just knowing that there's a room full of Irish people cheering you on, there's no other way to describe it. One of the reasons why I came back and actually started playing for 127 and then 721 was because I knew there's probably going to be another World Cup around the corner. And it's hard to describe, like being able to hang out with Irish people, especially back then, right? I was not that good at the game, so I was playing with people like Liam, who had way more experience, Flex G, Scribsy, I've never had a proper coach, so getting coached at all was massive for me. And yeah, like that World Cup, the only things that have been pushing me forward all the time was the next World Cup. So 2019, that was finished. I was like, the coach Scribsy at the time, we were in an Uber back to the airport, and he said, if you keep playing the way you're playing, I can see you being a great off tank. And that has stuck with me ever since. I've always wanted to be a great off tank, or just a tank now, I guess. But yeah, like, and even just small things, like, for example, there was a watch party before we went over to LA. We're just watching the grand finals of Overwatch League.
Yeah.
And one or two people came up to me with Irish jerseys that they had bought, which is awesome. That people were funding us through these merchandise and donations, stuff like that. It was amazing, and they wanted me to sign their jerseys. And like, I'm just a little goblin from the middle of nowhere, and people are asking me to sign their jerseys. And then we go over to LA, and people are stopping us, asking us for photographs. People are like wanting me to sign, like a child. They can't be older than like 6 or 7. Came up to us. They had the book that you get for BlizzCon, and on the front of it was all signed by Team USA, and they wanted the back to be signed by all Team Ireland.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's no way I can possibly put into words how proud and how fulfilling it is to represent your country.
Yeah, and you spoke there just about that watch party, and I don't think I could attend that one, but I'd been to a good few of these watch parties were organized by the Irish Overwatch Community, because we're a small country, but when it comes to the Overwatch scene, which in itself is a small scene, we're quite tight knit, and we operate the Irish Overwatch Community Discord, and Nut, I know you're an admin in one of those. You're heavily involved in that. What does that Irish community mean to you?
Well, I especially that Discord that you're talking about. I remember when it was first created, which was 2018, I believe. Oh yeah, after 2018 World Cup maybe, but it was for the World Cup because the conditions to get into it were you had to have a certain amount of high rank players, like a certain amount of players, or the SR average of your country had to be a certain level. And then seeing it was like 20, 30 of us or whatever. Like, I was invited from a friend. Seeing it into now, which is like hundreds of people. And there's, especially back then, there was no way that I could even imagine that there was that much people in Ireland playing Overwatch. Like, let alone being able to be found. Like, I remember back then, you'd go into a quick play game or competitive game, you hear someone on the headphones, you're like, oh, are you Irish? And you send them an invite. You Irish? Yeah, get into the server. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so seeing it grow and seeing the stuff that has happened from it is amazing.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
it. I love all the community.
Yeah, and I suppose it's kind of a little bit bitter than where we discuss the Overwatch World Cup, because as of the most recent announcement by Blizzard, Ireland have not been selected as one of the 36 teams. So, Nut, I'm going to go to you with this question. This is a bit of a kick in the teeth. What are your thoughts on it?
It wasn't nice to read the announcement, and there's like, especially like when you read over it once and saw that like your own country wasn't there, so we saw Ireland wasn't there, and we're like, oh, like that's really disappointing. And then you reread it, then you see like, wait, Denmark isn't there and Finland isn't there, and you're kind of sitting there going, it's one thing Ireland not being there, but when a team like Denmark, who can field a super competitive roster, isn't there, you're kind of sitting there going, how has that happened? Because like that, if it, the point of the World Cup, like the point of competition is to be competitive, and when you're not allowing when you're not allowing a team to come in who are gonna be super competitive, it's just very it's odd. But like they used population, like players who played the game from each country as like the kind of baseline. That like okay, that's fair enough. Like in one way, it's like okay, what can they use? But they really should have taken a lot more into account because like Denmark finished top 6 in 2019. I think it was
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
6, wasn't it?
Also, like Finland as well. Like
Yeah.
everybody remembers the game in Goats Meta where Finland spawn camped South Korea on Rialto,
Rialto, yeah.
and then the game mysteriously had to be restarted. You know, like
Yeah.
both of those countries had been crazy competitive. Like some of the players of all time. Like I remember, like if you were EU and you played Overwatch in like 2016, Taimu was the guy. Finnish. Like you've got people like Big Goose and Shaz
Mm.
who were incredible. Team Giganti was one of the biggest teams in EU contenders, all Finnish. Like Denmark right now is an incredibly competitive region. Obviously, like a majority of ex-Oblivion are Danish, like Shockwave and Slay and Calyx, and then you've got Doge, and you got a lot of really good Danish players, and Naga as well from Peps. But I think if you look historically in Overwatch as well, like people forget how good Finland have been, like historically. It's
And
just both those teams not being in the World Cup is
yeah.
disgrace. It's so bad.
And the weird thing with Finland is you don't even have to think back because I mean Sona has just been signed
Yeah.
to Florida Mayhem, and that is an Overwatch League pro who now doesn't have the opportunity to represent his country
Yeah.
at the World Cup. Well,
Yeah.
I suppose it would be a little bit unfair to say doesn't have an opportunity because of course, you know, there has been a bit of a silver lining to it where we do have this wild card challenge for 4 teams globally. Boom, I'm going to go to you with this.
Mhm.
The language used and the overall kind of theme of what it seems,
Mhm.
it seems like it's not very competitive, or at least the competitive integrity seems to
Yeah.
be at stake here with something like a wildcard challenge.
Absolutely. So I think with Blizzard over the past couple of years, what we've seen is just a massive cutback of integrity overall within every competitive scene within Overwatch. From tier 3 to tier 1, integrity has just not been the point of focus. I think that really started with COVID, with like a massive cut in the revenue that all teams could make from in-person events. And then from that, a big focus has been on getting eyes on the product rather than producing a product that is inherently competitive for the scene. And I think that's had a knock-on effect going into the World Cup as well. Like, if you look at the actual population density of places like Denmark and Finland and Ireland, who, you know, have eyes that you can sell products to and sponsorships to, they're not as populated as places in, well, other places in Europe or places in South America, for example, that people are kind of disagreeing in terms of competitive integrity, like getting into the World Cup. So I think with the wildcard challenge, the fact that people like Dollar, who have won contenders like 4 times, who would be on Team Finland, and Vestola, who has been in the Overwatch League, and you know, Sauna, who's currently in the Overwatch League, and Shockwave, and Calyx, and Slay, and all of these people are going to have to go through a tournament with people who, from countries that might not even have like a 4K average SR team, to get an opportunity in the World Cup is really just it boggles my mind. I read the announcement and I lost my marbles a little bit. I was in VC with Nut and Pure. They might remember. I said some very controversial words, but yeah, I think because there's 4 slots available,
Yeah.
Denmark and Finland are only 2 countries, and you know, in my head, Ireland is a lock for the number 3 slot. If there is the opportunity for, because again, we have obviously, because we've got people who are well connected who are running Team Island stuff right now, or potential Team Island stuff right now, because nothing's official, obviously, because we're not in the World Cup. But we've got a lot of people who know people on the inside, and we don't even know what the wildcard challenge even is.
Yeah.
Like we don't know if it's a tournament. We don't know if it's a TikTok trend. We don't know if it's a Twitter poll. We don't know. We don't know what it is.
Please, Jesus
So,
Christ, don't be a TikTok trend.
but hey,
Please.
like it could be, in back in the day, like I remember, especially Activision Blizzard, they used to do this a lot. They'd post like a voting thing in the client of the games when you log in, like Black Ops 2 camos. Like, what camo do you want to see in the store? And then, people vote, and then that's the camo that gets put in, right? Like, I think based off of how they want to run this model of sell as much stuff to as many people as possible, it might just come down to a vote. And Ireland, even though we have a top tier 2 player in Grathan, who has won contenders many times, we have people in the Irish community who I'd say at least a handful of them who have either current tier 2 or future tier 2 potential. And we have people in the Irish community who have a good foundational basis in tier 3 right now and who have been mainstays for a long time and who have been, scary teams in tier 3 that no one's really heard of, but we all know.
Yep.
Like, because we're small and because we're, not really out there, we might not win the vote if it comes down to that. So we're hoping it's a tournament. If it is a tournament, we're gonna get in. We're gonna earn the spot. There's not even a debate. That is a promise to the Irish community. We will get through the wild card. We will be in the World Cup if they let us. It's just whether or not they let us.
Absolutely. And look, I want to touch back on something you mentioned there, about having a good foundation of players here that are, we're not competing as Team Ireland per se, but we're competing as Team from Ireland, which I suppose is an important distinction in this because, we're talking about the European Invitational here, and this is organised as a LAN in Paris, so coming up in March. Now, we do have closed qualifiers are a little bit sooner than that. I believe you play your first match on Monday.
Yeah.
So, if I'm not mistaken, you're in Group A. We're looking at the French closed qualifier team featuring the likes of Poco, captained by Le Renegat. The Danish Dynamite were an open qualifier team. There's a couple of big names on that as well. There's Will. Someone help me out here.
Luxter.
Will, Eric,
Johan as well, yeah.
Fell,
yeah. So some big names on that too, and then another close qualifier team in the Swedish team, captained by Rubad. I'm not too familiar with the Swedish team, but hopefully, Pure, you might be able to help me out with this. What are your expectations for Group A in terms of top 2 getting through? What are Ireland's chances?
I think it is. I mean, if you're going by track record, we've already beaten Danish Dynamite, so we're gonna beat them again. You better, yeah. We're gonna work. I think we, especially on Monday, we have a good chance of beating the French team, in my opinion. I think it's a thought shared with the 2 Irish people here, and then also the rest of the team. But yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, I'm already prepared to go to Paris. In my mind, I'm already there. Like I'm in Paris. I'm lounging. I'm sitting back.
I've got the bags packed already.
Yeah, the bags are packed.
Planes booked.
The candles are lit. No. I'm there.
Hotels booked. Everything, bro. We're there.
Okay, so that kind of answers expectations for Ireland then, I guess. So it's a 7-man team, I believe, for the EUI. Nut, could you kind of elaborate on, obviously we have 2 of you guys here, and the coach. Could you elaborate on some of the guys we're missing? What kind of roles they fill and who to look out for especially?
So we have 2 mid-swords in Greece and GCB. They're both very different players, and they offer like very different skill sets to the team, which is why we picked both of them. Well, I didn't pick, but that's why they were picked. That's what was explained, is that they offer 2 very different skill sets to the team, and they'll have their uses when called upon. We have Pure as well, I suppose, tank, and our second tank is Dino as well. And again, different skill sets. We're just the basis of this roster is to try cover as many aspects as we can. Try build a very strong core that we can build upon for the future, be it World Cup this year or even next year. And then we have Mayo is playing Hitscan for us at the moment. It wasn't the most ideal situation. We kind of ran out of time and options, so we kind of just stuck him on the roster. But he's been doing a good job filling. And then we have Deamonn, who's actually a tank player, but he's filling flex DPS first, and he's doing quite well as well. So we're kind of reaching at the moment, trying to fill all bases. We're kind of the DPS.
Yeah, I was
DPS
gonna say possibly a job posting for DPS maybe in the future, but
Hey,
I mean,
Grafton, if you're watching,
Grathan, if you're watching,
we're
yeah,
here, baby.
get
We're
in
here,
touch.
baby. We're waiting for you.
But I mean, look, I've seen some of you guys, or seen some of the scrims and some of the tourney matches from you guys, and like you guys are putting on a hell of a performance. And even Deamonn and Mayo on the DPS, like they're looking nasty in some of those matches. Mayo's tracer kind of goes hard, so it's been a pleasure to watch that, I have to say. So outside of Group A, Danish Dynamite apparently not a concern. Happy to hear. French team even looking a little bit shaky. So outside of that group, then we have some other kind of big names. Danish Mafia, UK UFO. What are the teams to watch?
Personally, I think one of the biggest teams to watch that people are kind of underrating because the roster isn't like they've not got like you look at like French Legacy for example, they've got like 2 tanks, like 2 DPS, like they've got a lot of depth there. They've got a lot of like owl recognition with like Poco and stuff there, and Nico GDH as well. So they've got like big names. The scariest team in the entire tournament, in my opinion, is either Danish Mafia or the Dutch team. I don't know how to pronounce their name. It's like a very long Dutch name, but the one with Krandop and Ken and Buddy and Ange. Krandop is, in my opinion, the best tank that is not in the Overwatch League right now. He is incredible. He isn't just good on main tanks. He obviously was a main tank player in Overwatch 1, but I've seen him on Xayah, Diva, Sigma, Queen. He's incredible in everything that he does on tank, and obviously has won contenders with Oblivion recently. So that team, just from the fact that Krandop is on it, and it is a monkey meta right now, and obviously we don't have a lot of the teams don't have a lot of access to coaching as they would in like a regular team structure. Krandop is just gonna do nasty things to a lot of teams, and obviously Danish Mafia, Mulfig, Doge, Shockwave, just
Yeah.
very scary team. Very scary
I mean,
team.
look, speaking with Shockwave there recently, the key thing with the Danish Mafia team is, they're a group of friends at the end of the day. Shockwave reckons the only people that are going to come up against them are people who try harder, basically. That was his own words. So it's good, we have in Ireland and in these other teams, you have this kind of coaching structure in place that will make it a very competitive tournament for sure. Now, what's most important here, I'll go to PureIrish with this. Who do you want to play against most? Like, who are you most looking forward to beating up?
Well, Group B is a hard one, but if the French team from Group B, I don't know how to pronounce it, the French Opinel has Timo on it. They have Timo, which is my previous teammate. I've played with him for over a year, and they beat us in close brackets. I want to demolish Timo. I want to send him outside of France. I want to send him into the orbit, into the moon.
Perfect.
That's what I want. I want to beat that team.
Okay. What about the other two? You guys have similar or different opinions?
Team UK.
Team UK.
Team UK.
Chikaru's team.
Not even a debate. Team UK.
What about you, Nut?
I can't remember the team name. But is it the other French team with Stelios on it? I was playing with Stelios on Namaste, and he I really like him, but I want to beat him. I want to beat him because I like him.
Oh, easy.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
that's it.
Okay, perfect. So we got 3 teams that we're going to look out for then in the LAN and hopefully get 3 Ws off of those. So guys, before I let you go, anybody you want to see me interview next?
Oh, Pure, you go first. You clearly have an idea.
No, we spoke about it before. Me and we boomed, and
I want
we
to
were
see Jaru.
saying some like
Jaru.
Holy Pig, Jaru,
Holy Pig, Jaru, Theomatic.
Could be a good one. I want to see some of the fancy fellas as well, like Johan Strebor, because I know they got the coach already, but I want to see inside the mind of Johan and Strebor. I want to see what they're thinking about.
Okay, perfect.
Jaru is S tier.
Jaru is S tier. Okay,
Jaru's number 1 player.
That's 2 in a row for Jaru. Jikaru in my last episode also said Jaru, so we might have to get in touch there. I think we might have to get in touch. Look, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on this. It's just a long time coming. You guys have been great to work with. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Team from Ireland can do, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Team Ireland can do as well. So yeah, look, this has been another episode of the European Invitational content. I hope you guys are enjoying it. There'll be more of this rolling out as the closed qualifiers go through. 30th of January to the 3rd of February.
Something
2nd of
like
February.
that,
Yep.
Something like that as a close qualifier. So make sure you're tuning in for that, guys. Supporting Team Ireland, supporting your country. And we will see you then for the next episode. Take care.